Hello, Caryl Westmore here, and welcome to another episode of the Write the Book Inside You podcast. What is fascinating about my author guest today is how she turned witnessing her father being taken off to prison into a profound life lesson. Sarah Edwards, author of Success on Probation, a step-by-step system to reform your life and release yourself from the mental jail, shares her journey from the teenage trauma of visiting her father in jail to becoming a probation officer in the UK system, to finding freedom and resilience from burnout herself, and now coaching others to break free from their own mental jails and avoid burnout. Stay tuned for an enlightening conversation filled with Sarah's powerful story and her tips on ecstatic dance as a mind-body tool for mental health. You won't want to miss this. Hello and welcome to the Write the Book Inside You podcast. Tips, tools, and interviews for coaches and healers like you who want to write a non-fiction book to boost your visibility, clients, and cash flow while making a difference. I'm your host, Caryl Westmore, a multi-published author and energy psychology tapping book coach. Now let's jump into today's episode. Sarah Edwards is an author, coach, and TEDx speaker from the UK. She has worked as a probation officer, psychology and criminology tutor and career coach, and has now turned her skills and experience to helping women, especially young mums and other career counselors, overcome burnout in their life and careers. Her book, Success on Probation, helps readers review their life in terms of releasing themselves from the judgment, self-punishment, and mental jail they can end up in. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Caryl. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Before we continue, what I'd love you to tell us, Sarah, is the pivotal moment in your life that brought you to the work you do, starting out with being a probation officer.
So it was when I was about 15, 16, and my parents they'd just gone through like a separation or were going through a separation, and I was doing my exams at school. So really important moment when you're at school, and my dad was sent to prison. And it was so shocking because where I grew up in quite a regular neighborhood, but the neighborhood kind of next to us, there was a lot of crime, but that was the next neighborhood. Me and my teenage friends would often hang around there, because you got bad boys, it's exciting. But I never thought that would happen in my own family. Remember the car journey with my mum. I'm one of three siblings, and my older sister, younger brother, did not want to know. They did not want to visit him, but I wrote to my dad, I wrote letters. I've always been the kind of emotional empath of the family. I was always told I was too much. So I remember writing to him, and I always knew deep down, I knew that he's not a bad person, and he wasn't a bad person. We grew up going to church. He used to run the church groups, the youth groups. So it was really at odds with who I thought my dad was. He was always there. He raised us. He went to work. In my eyes, he was a good dad. Writing to him, and then we went to visit him in prison, and it was just really different. And my dad, he really does have a positive mindset. From his point of view, he loved it. He got to chat with people. He actually used to visit people in prison as a part of his kind of missionary work at church. He got to work. It was a low security prison. He had responsibility. He was mates with all the prison officers. But it was from then that I realized the people that are going to prison, they're just normal people that have made some kind of mistake or wrong decision. So from then, that's when my interest was like, okay, why is it that somebody can end up in prison? Is it their own personal thing? Is it the police system? Is it the justice system? So when it came to kind of deciding what I want to do at school, I was dead set. I knew. I didn't need to decide, what do I want to do when I go to university? I knew. I just wanted to know, why do people commit crime? Why is it they end up in prison? And then I ended up doing my dissertation actually on mothers in
Now
prison.
for a word from our episode sponsor. Every writer has faced the dreaded writer's block. But what if you had not just one, but 7 ways to shatter it? Introducing Bust Writer's Block Forever, 7 game-changing ways to kiss writer's block goodbye and unleash creative inspiration. Dive deep into transformative processes, the work of Byron Katie, Havening, EFT tapping, the journey, the alter ego effect for writers, internal family systems. And as a special treat, a bonus chapter on collaborating, even dancing with ChatGPT, your new creative catalyst. For those who've been inspired by The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, this book and accompanying video course at bustwritersblock.com will feel like coming home. Dive in at bustwritersblock.com. Now back to today's episode.
Loads of people interested in crime and crime documentaries, but it just made it really, really real. And I think at the time, I didn't really process the impact on me because I was so busy on looking outward. And I think that's kind of where it's took me today, because yes, I then went into a job. I didn't know probation officer was a job. Just knew when I was studying for psychology and criminology, we actually had a lady come in from, she was a forensic psychologist who worked in the local prison. And I am a quite active learner. I learn by actual real people telling a real life story and coming to visit us from these real life jobs, not something abstract that's in research. And it just really brought it alive for me. And on my particular degree course, I didn't have a placement, but I was really keen to get experience and voluntary work. But I'd heard one of my course colleagues, he had done a placement in probation. So it was only through asking him what it was about that I thought, oh, actually, that is something I want to do, working with people that have been to prison and helping them.
I want to stop you there for people, to define it maybe a bit broader for people all over the world. I don't know if it's called that in other countries. Could you define exactly what a probation officer does?
Yes. So some countries call them parole officers, probation officers, community justice officers. But essentially what we do is we work with people who are in prison, but also people who are not in prison, but they've been arrested, they go through the court system and they say you either got prison or a community sentence. So you have a probation officer that rehabilitate them. So that's, looking at behavior change and actively, working one-to-one with them, or you might have CBT based programs or things like that. And
just let me stop you again. CBT is a method of counseling. Could you just define that?
Yeah, CBT is cognitive behavioral techniques that look at the thoughts, behaviors and actions of someone. So it's like that triangle of why is it that someone commits crime? So if you have somebody that's committed a robbery, okay, what is it? Is it their thoughts, their actions, beliefs, and that affects their behavior, and it all kind of interlinks. Okay. So that's what we look at as probation officers. That's our kind of standpoint, is that it's their habits. We all know about childhood experiences impacting our current life, and then it's our habits, our environment, what beliefs are we hearing and telling ourselves.
And how, sorry to interrupt you again, how would it actually benefit the person to have CBT? Would there be a way to rehabilitate them in a way that they change their habits? How do you as a probation officer guide them?
So we have a program. So we have a separate probation team that run programs. So we might have one of the most famous ones is like a thinking skills program in the UK. You would be in a group of other people and you go through a more structured program. But the majority of people get one-to-one support from a probation officer. And then you would look specifically. So for example, I've had someone, he was 21 in London. His mother died, so his dad raised him. He had an older brother who was dealing drugs. He was caught with guns on him, violent offending as well, related to gangs. So with him, we look at, okay, what has led to you being here? What is your family structure? What are your beliefs and your lifestyle? What lifestyle are you leading? What opportunities do you have at the moment and at the time that you was committing your offence? Are you in education? Do you have any goals or aspirations? What's your financial situation and your family's attitudes towards money and career and prosperity? What is your, are you taking any substances? Do you have any substance misuse issues? Do you have mental health issues? So you're focusing on the whole to then kind of work in a more structured way on a one-to-one basis to try to change them. But everyone here that's probably listening, that's in the coaching world, counselling world, knows that it's not easy. And the thing with being a probation officer, you're working with people that don't want to change. Many coaches and therapists, you have your client that comes to you because they're like, yes, I'm ready to change now. I'm fed up with how my life has gone. I'm ready to change. But
Correct.
with the people on probation, they've been forced there. They've been arrested by the police, gone to court and told, you have to change now. So you're on the back foot already. You've got to try and encourage these people to change. So you spend a lot of time building relationships with that person because you really want to get on board with them so that they connect with you on a human level. So then you can start to plant the seed of change. And most of the time you won't see that change. You might get someone who's got an 18-month sentence. So they'll work with you for 18 months, 24 months, 3 years. But if they've been in prison, like the guy that I was talking about, he had a what we call an indeterminate sentence. So it's indefinite and it's up to the parole board to release that person from prison, and they've got to show how they have made changes. So some people are with you for a longer period of time, possibly 10 years, 5 years. I had a few people that have committed murder. So they are with you for life. So for example, with the person that's committed murder, he had murdered his girlfriend when he was 17. He came out of prison when he was 40. So he has a lot of beliefs and attitudes that have grown up with him in the prison system.
Maybe that how that affected you in moving through burnout to a different perspective.
So I found ecstatic dance at another rock bottom because I'd actually separated from my partner. So I had quit my job, was trying to grow my business, had my 2 children that were like under 5, and I had left my partner. Again, an unplanned thing. So I was at another rock bottom. I had done a lot of mind-based stuff. One of my counselling, it was like, what did you love as a child? And I always loved dancing. So ecstatic dance is free form dance. It's not a structured dance. There's no dance teacher telling you the moves. You go through a journey with the music. And the music is, it's not like pop music. It's kind of electronic music, really heavy bass. And you go on a journey. You start off kind of quite heavy, earthy, grounding sounds to kind of really ground you in. And then it takes you on a more kind of euphoric, high, kind of like raving, clubbing music, which I love anyway. And then you kind of come back more down into more kind of ambient, soothing, meditative. And the first time I experienced it, I went to one in a forest outside. It blew me away because I actually dropped from my mind and actually into my body. I didn't care. I was closing my eyes. I didn't care who could see me dancing. The other people didn't care. It felt like I was clubbing, and I loved clubbing. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but it was like I was clubbing. And the thing I loved about clubbing was to dance. I didn't like to stand around talking in a club. I just wanted to dance. And it was as if my whole body was tingling with energy. It was like, the picture behind you, Caryl, like the colors and the swirls. I just felt love. I felt so much love. Like I just wanted to extend my heart and my love to everyone. And it was like such a natural high. And I was like, yes, like I need more of this. People need more of this.
Yes. And you even say in your TEDx talk that you recommend it for the prison system as well.
Yes.
Somehow. Which we won't go into, but at least when we come back to what you're saying in your book and in your women's circles, because you really want to help women overcome what you overcame, even though their route may not be the career you were in, but it could be another career or trying to juggle their home life and their work. So would ecstatic dance be one of the things that you cover in your book, Success on Probation? I just wanted to tell the readers the name of your book, Success on Probation, a step-by-step system to reform your life and release yourself from your mental jail. So that is the key in your work. To what are the steps that you mentioned? Go through, being a victim, whatever they are. in the book?
So, yeah, like you said, it follows the judicial system. So the first step is about arrest. You get arrested. So you're in that kind of heightened state where your emotions and adrenaline are running high. So that is where maybe you're in that overwhelmed state. That is your kind of rock bottom state where you just like you've hit the wall, you cannot go any further. And then you've got the kind of judgment phase, which is someone goes to court. Yes, we get judgment from society, expectations, but we are our hardest judge, our hardest critic. So it's giving you steps to face that and overcome that. And then the victim, we all go into that victim mentality. And it's not to discount your experience, but you don't want to stay in that victim mentality because you're not going to be able to move forward from it. And by seeing yourself as a victim, it's going to, it's not going to help your experience.
And I think I skipped judgment because that would be a part of that journey from arrest to judgment, or maybe judgment comes first and then arrest.
It's kind of all intertwined, but yeah.
You've got arrest and judgment and moving away from being a victim. So what we're trying to get to in your book is to help people see, and then in your course, see how they can criminalizing themselves, so to speak, and how to break free of that mental jail. To bring it back to the ecstatic dance, are there other things that you recommend?
Yes. So you've got the ecstatic dance. I like reflective writing. So it's essentially journaling. And I came across journaling because I needed the help. My coach at the time said, just write a page a day. Because what I find is people are not consistent with things. And journaling is essentially listening to yourself. And if you're so busy doing your job, doing all your duties for everybody else, you're not actually listening to yourself. You're not asking yourself, what are my needs? What do I want? And it can be uncomfortable for people to just sit down with a blank piece of paper and just write. So yes, it is a mind-based thing, but it's more a listening to yourself, listening to your emotions. And you can attach body-based stuff with that as well. Like I intertwine it with like body scan awareness. So when you're asking yourself, how do I feel? Actually feel it in in your body. Like I hold my tension a lot of the time in my neck and my shoulders. I wouldn't know that if I'm just bypassing my whole body and emotional state and numbing it with work, TV, boyfriends. There's so many like actual addictions that we're numbing ourselves with, but by doing reflective writing, this is the reason you do reflective writing, because for someone who is so busy from the minute they wake up to when they go to sleep, to say to that person, spend 15 minutes with yourself alone, they have to find the time. I found the time because I had a coach. So it was that accountability. Me actually doing that reflective writing led to me leaving my relationship, because for once I was listening to myself and hearing myself and realizing I'm not in alignment with what I'm hearing from my true self, and listen to myself. So it's kind of the art of being still.
It's almost the opposite of being a whirling dervish, an ecstatic dance. You're actually being still and in a quiet. What about something in between, like walking in nature? There's something else you recommend?
Yeah. So nature is another thing. I have to do it daily now. When you're walking, you're kind of stepping. So your left and right brain are, it's kind of giving your brain time to relax and for you to actually drop into your body, and for you to like look into the horizon and to the distance and connecting with actual nature, like grounding, whether you're walking barefoot or not. I mean, I do love to walk barefoot, but even if you've got shoes on, just to connect with life. Real life.
It might have been Jung who said that walking will heal depression. So those are some beautiful things to do. So when it came to writing your book, which is, you wrote the book inside you for sure. Did it come out of your journaling, or did it come out of a need to put your course into something more tangible?
I'm a curious person who wants to learn from people that are doing life well. I'm like, you must have the key. So it was when I had my tutoring business, reached out to him. I was like, okay, you've got a successful tutoring business. How do you do it? So we met up a few times and he said, write a book. And he's an author of like 7 maths books in the UK. And he said, write a book. And I was like, again, someone had approached me and said, do something out of my comfort zone. And I pushed it away. I was like, no, like that wasn't even on my arena of goals or things to do. And then I sat with it and I thought, why not? What have I got to lose? Why not? And then do you know what he said? Write it in a month. I was like, no, can't do that. And he was like, why not? We're in a pandemic. Write it in a month. So I wrote it in a month.
Yes.
And it was that shift in mindset. So first thing, what I would encourage people to do is ask for help. You can't do things alone. Don't think you can do it alone. I would never have said I want to be a writer when I was at school. I was average at English. I didn't let that stop me because I knew to write about something that I knew about. That was the advice.
And something that was close to your heart.
Yeah, something close to your heart that you know about. And it just flowed. It just flowed out. And I could write it in a month because I just mapped out the plan. And I didn't stop by writing it in a month. I couldn't procrastinate. I couldn't be like, no, you know, listening to that inner voice that tells me I can't do it, because I only had a month. And another thing about not doing your things on your own. So this was self-published through an agency. So there was an editor that was waiting for a deadline for me to edit it. And I know lots of people that want to write a book and then they get stuck with the how, they get stuck with the next step. Just write it first.
I'm a tapping book coach and I help people remove the blocks to writing their book. And then because I've written books myself, nonfiction, I know I'm counseling people how to write their book, and it's up to them how far they go. You know, I can do the framework for them. So I know what you're saying. Sometimes people have got all the knowledge, but they just don't know how to, they think, but there's a disconnect between what they know and what they think it takes to write a book. But you went ahead and did it, and then you took the next step, which was to find an editor and a publisher. Sounds like so well done. And what's been the reception to your book? Has it opened doors for you?
It has, and that was what my mentor said. You know, it might not be about how many books you sell. You know, it's not a Times bestseller, but it has given me that authority. I was interviewed on a TV show in the UK. It has led to other podcasts. You know, I really believe it led to my TEDx talk. TEDx, you think, yeah, I'd always want to do that. And this one was in Canada, you know, not even in the UK. And
did you were you in Canada to do?
Yeah, I went to Canada, in Alberta. And I think it was because it showed that I'm an authority. The book was actually to do with the topic that I was talking about. And it is my life's work. I'm talking about releasing yourself from your mental jail, whether I'm doing that in probation or with helping people from burnout. That is my life's passion and my life's purpose.
And you've got the experience that led to writing the book inside you. And there may be other books. That's the other thing. You don't just have to write war and peace in one go. You wrote that, you know, from your passion about probation. Something else might come out, maybe just a book on ecstatic dance itself. Who knows?
Yeah, you know, I do have another book.
I'm sure you do. Yeah. But in the meanwhile, let's tell people where they can find you and your book and, you know, connect with you.
Yeah. So my book is available on Amazon to all countries worldwide. So that is written from the perspective of a mum and a probation officer, but it is not exclusive to that audience. So if you're a practitioner, therapist, coach, counsellor, a lot of teachers have read it and found it really applicable. So you can get that there. I have a 6-week course called Soothe Your Soul.
A website, one place to send people.
I would go to my Facebook community.
Okay.
That's the most up to date, which is called No More Burnout.
No More Burnout. Thank you so much for enlightening us as to where your life journey has taken you and to encourage us to write the book inside us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Caryl.
Thanks for joining me on today's podcast. Want a free gift to inspire you further on your book writing adventure? My free checklist, 5 book hook tips to kickstart your book writing journey, will help you get clarity on the key essentials to make your book a winner. Download it at writethebookinsideyou.com/free gift. The links are in the show notes. Until next time, a big virtual hug and keep writing.